during a battle with Juggernaut, Cyclops is like distracted with these visions of Jean, and
Coming out of hell. Did you see the one where it was like the black smoke in the fire? I was like, look at Gene at hell. It was like the devil. That's all it was.
and then he passes out and wakes up and kisses Emma because he thought she was Jean.
It like says it, Gene. It was like, wow. This was
Wow.
like,
Emma tells Scott that she is like, you having a hard time with Jean, I can like erase all the memories from your mind. And he says,
so crazy.
okay.
He was like, yeah. I was watching the episode, I was like, what?
He says, sure. So they
I was cracking my neck, child. I was like, oh, I'm getting old.
is there. We got to stretch.
Yeah, like everyone always says that to me. They're like, you got to stretch. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't have the patience for it. I don't.
You got to now.
No, seriously, because it's crazy. But hello, everybody. Welcome back to another relaunch. I am the third smartest man in the world. Actually, I don't know if he's still the third smartest man in the world. But Mr. Terrific.
Oh, okay. And I am Dr. Light. That is Kimio Hoshi, people,
Yes,
the
to
superhero.
clarify that because there's two, and one of them is not a good man.
Absolutely not. How are you? Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Yes, I'm doing well. I'm feeling very festive and not necessarily in the Christmas spirit or the holiday spirit, but just like in the good mood spirit, like a merry, jolly, happy type of mode. So that's where I'm at. It doesn't actually feel like Christmas, although it did finally start getting cold here in DC, and it like got cold, cold. I was outside. I said, "Oh, I need on my big coat."
Ooh, I don't really relate to that. I haven't worn a big coat in a while, but I will say that I also feel you on the just like a positive spirit. I won't
Yeah.
necessarily say it's like, Christmas spirit per se,
Mhm.
but I am in a very happy mood. I'm glad, breaks from work and all that kind of stuff is nice. So
Okay. Break is
it's nice.
always a good time. I hope everyone is doing that and having a little maybe like hot cocoa.
Mm, that's nice. And reading some comics.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we don't really have any updates this week. Things are kind of slowing down. I know out here it's like production break basically. Like everybody's on a break.
Everybody
Um,
stopped working on December 20 like first. Okay. It was
yeah,
like
so it'll be here.
we'll see you next year, guys. Don't talk to me.
Exactly. But I did want to chat a little bit about something.
Oh,
So,
okay.
in comics recently, in one of our relaunch sections, we did a little bit of chatting about, DC having these tentpole characters, right? And then we wondered if Marvel had any, you know. And by tentpole characters, it's like the main league at DC, it's the seven. And pretty much I've noticed that if you aren't like directly or only like a few degrees away from those main tentpole seven, you aren't really going to be included in something. And this week I said I was Dr. Light. That's Kimio Hoshi, and like I really like her character, but she hasn't really been in a lot of books. She's mostly just been featured in like some Justice League stuff, some Justice League International stuff. She was only in that for a little bit. And then she's like popped in and out of other books, just helping some superheroes or whatever. But like, she doesn't really have a big connection to like the main seven. She's friends with them, and she was inspired to be a superhero from Supergirl. Like after she died in the in Infinite Crisis, she was like, "Oh, that's my inspiration for me to go out and do help people, so that her sacrifice isn't in vain." But like, she's still not super close to like anybody there.
She don't got no friends for real.
Right, like like they cool or whatever, but like she's not, her brand anyway isn't directly tied to the super brand or the Wonder brand or the Bat family or whatever. So she's like not really included. do you think that there should be some kind of like corner for these type of characters? And by them, I mean like, Fire and Ice or Booster Gold or, Hawk and Dove, these characters who like aren't really directly connected to
Anybody.
anybody.
Um, it's interesting. I was tweeting something about that the other day, and just how DC has a lot of characters who you could do a lot with, the Fire Knights, the Hawk and Doves, da da da, but you never see them because again, they're not really attached to those tentpole characters. But I've noticed a lot that DC doesn't really utilize teams outside of like a Titans, Justice League, JSA, maybe a Legion every now and again. And I feel like if they did, if you brought back a like Infinity Inc. or we brought back out, even the outsiders are kind of always attached to Batman and those characters who navigate in his world. But it's like if you branch that out and you add some of the other folks in there, could you give them more of an opportunity to do that? I know Marvel does a lot, but they don't really use them. And I think that's something that they should do because it would be
Hmm.
nice to see that. And I feel like DC characters are different from Marvel, that where you can get a lot of random different ones and put them together in a team and it kind of just works. Whereas I think when you think of Marvel books, you see maybe like a Spider Woman with I don't know, who's someone she doesn't know.
Most of, I don't know. Really, any X-Men character, her and Storm? I guess they know
Yeah,
each other.
no, I don't know. Like just anyone who like. Let's say she's hanging out with Surge.
Oh,
Okay, you got to get really crazy and out there with it. You see like a Spider Woman and a Surge teaming up, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do this," and you're kind of just like, "Whoa, this is weird. Why did they get there? Where did they get together?" Whereas opposed, if I put Nuya and Connor Hawk and Blue Beetle on page together, I'm like, "That's hot," and it just makes sense.
mm. But I feel like that just it speaks to the different companies because like DC does have more like random crisis that happen every now and then. So like you could truly just put anybody together and it kind of just works. So you're kind of used to seeing those
Mhm.
characters just be together and work together as a team. Whereas like Marvel never do this. Like they need to actually explain why any of them are around each other. But I don't know. I found it interesting that these characters who aren't directly like their brand isn't directly tied to one of the seven, like they don't really have a lane for them.
I also think some of it falls into the aspect of like a lot of the DC characters live in fictional universes. So it's again, Marvel is very lived in. Characters kind of go from state to state. You can see anybody, you run into them. If my characters are Hawk and Dove and they're only based in DC, how am I going to get them to team up with Superman who never leaves Metropolis?
Mm.
Or how do I get them involved in like a Batman event to kind of help boost the sales of their book when I know they're never going to interact with him? And so I think that's kind of one thing that hinders it, because you like to be in those fictional places. You want to see the Amazons on Themyscira. You want to see the Bat family in Gotham in some type of way. Superman folks are going to be in Metropolis, and once a lot of these other heroes are from the real places.
Mm. Mm. I wonder, do they have to then just move? Do the characters need to be in these fictional places?
See, but then that's the thing. Once you move them, you just attach them to that character anyway. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like they're not really
Maybe
their
it
own
might help.
thing.
Who knows?
But I also think, some characters, they can find like their little niches. While you do have your tempo characters, I think you have something like the JSA, which is a big team, and you kind of know a bunch of characters who are going to be on the JSA, and you want them to do little things like a Mr. Terrific. He can have the Terrifics and it still exists. Again, even Batman and the Outsiders, you kind of move that away from him. You give it to somebody else. You give it to Jason Todd again. Well, no, he had the Outlaw, excuse me. You give it
Mhm.
back to Black Lightning, and then you even take him out and maybe you go to DC with him, and that's how you add a Hawk and Dove in there, or you go wherever Fire and Ice live and you bring them in that way. But they just have to continue to bring back those other teams and like make those more viable properties, because obviously even Justice League, you can do 3 Justice League books again. You got, one Unlimited and Infinity. They like that word these days. Titans West.
I I figured like, the magic characters have a lane. They'll always have Justice League Dark, right? But like
Yeah.
the other characters who aren't in that, I feel like they should have Justice League Unlimited or Justice League Infinite or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
I think that they need to have like some kind of corner for themselves since they aren't attached to directly to those tempo characters. And like I get it, we're not in the 80s anymore where you can give all these random characters books and hope that they sell or and watch them sell. I get that we kind of can't really do that anymore.
Mhm.
Um, but I think like, the Vixens and the Doctor Lights, they like need to have a lane. And I think like just giving them a rotating book where you can kind of have them have arcs. Maybe they cross over or just sending them on missions, kind of like the Justice League Unlimited cartoon or something like that, where we see them out and about. But I think they need to have something.
Mhm. I agree. I would like to see a lot more of the characters utilized and just, or even to just be able to live in their world. We've talked a lot about Blue Beetle before on various episodes and how he could be like a much bigger character. He's
Hmm.
not in any of those cities, but he still thrives. And like that could be something that's really cool. You have a Connor Hawk who could do whatever and kind of carry on the mythos. You could still give people a lot of those feels. I like them.
Hmm. Well, Connor's connected to Green Arrow. Like, he's fine.
Yeah. But he should still be in more things.
I feel you on that. I see where you're going. Um, but yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a break. We probably should have more updates soon. As we've heard before, DC is having a little bit of shakeup over there, and allegedly they're going to be coming out with some kind of announcement
Did
that's going
you
to happen.
see that James Gunn or some they reported? I should have probably clicked the link and actually read the article to see what it said. But it basically said that James Gunn was talking to Jim Lee, and they're going to make sure that the comics and the movies have synergy.
Yes, I did read that. I read the article, and he said that he was working with Jim so they could have a.
They making me mad already. I don't like it.
It's not looking great so
No,
far.
it's not. I mean, and don't get me wrong. Sometimes some synergy can work, but for the most part, it shouldn't even be a thing where it's like my stories and my comics are matching what's on the movie screens. No, it should kind of be like, oh yeah, we make it Hawkman black, cool. But like, if you're doing a Black Adam movie, I don't want Black Adam in all of my comics. I'm sorry.
No, no. But I understand maybe he's thinking more of like, there'll be more synergy. Movies come out, the comics will be there too, and you can
I
kind of
also think
see some
about
stuff.
James
I don't know.
Gunn and the characters he's like. His synergy means I got Peacemaker.
And Lobo.
I don't make me.
Let's go ahead and take that break.
Okay. All
Did you
right.
see the stuff
What?
about the patch?
Uh-uh.
He just said everybody look gay. Like, he said all the characters look gay because none of them look masculine anymore. Like everybody looks gay, and like he was like, which is weird because like more effeminate people don't fight, and like he was like characters don't look like they fight.
Has he seen some of his character design?
That's what people were like. Do you remember the stuff you drew? But sometimes people just need to be quiet.
like, like just
think think to
just
yourself for
stop.
a little bit first before you
Don't say
talk.
it. This is why. Anyway, hello everyone, and welcome back to the comics section of the show, which is always a good time and never a dull place. This week was a nice little week of books that we had come out. Dark Web is still going in full force for those who are interested in Maddie and Spider-Man's clone causing havoc in New York. It had a few tie-ins drop. Miss Marvel #1, there was the Black Cat and Mary Jane tie-in. And I believe there was the Gold Goblin, which is like supposed to be one of the Osborns, Harry or Norman as a good guy. So if you want to check that out,
What?
look at it. It was the way you like physically looked at it. I'm like, wow. Um, But yeah, that's something that's happening. It's so interesting because I had to delve into the Spider-Man fandom a little bit to get that, and it's something that I never recommend to people because it is a very bad place. But the Black Cat and Mary Jane was so
They
interesting
do
because
embarrass me. They embarrass me. You know,
they were,
I like Spider-Man. The
it is
fandom can
mad.
be a lot.
They were like going off on Mary Jane. They're like, "Oh, I don't like this. Why isn't she with Peter?"
Well, she should be with Peter. And
Well,
they
it
like
was
recently gave her powers.
Yeah, and that's what they were mad about too. They were like, "Oh, I don't like this," because I guess in one of the Mary Jane was talking to Black Cat about the powers, and so Black Cat was asking her, "Do you know? Does he know?" And Mary Jane's dating some guy named Paul now, and so she's like, "Yeah, Paul knows."
Yeah,
And
Paul.
Black Cat's like, "I'm not talking about Paul. Does he?" And Mary Jane's like, "No, he doesn't know." And I saw somebody tweeting about it. They were like, "I don't like this." Mary Jane keeping secrets. This
Oh,
isn't
that's
like
okay. See, this is what I mean. They're doing too much. Like that's a part of the story. Let her get there.
like, no, she'd be sitting at home waiting for her man. But I digress. If you're into that, also there was a Avengers Infinity comic that came out, and I read it this week. It was actually a She-Hulk one, a little Christmas special about her and like some villain that
Oh,
she
fun.
beats on a plane, and the lady, like, plane keeps getting delayed because of the snowstorm. They got to turn back around, and then the woman goes crazy. And so instead of fighting her, She-Hulk kind of just talks her down, which I thought was really cute, especially when you think about what's going on in her book and her and Titania becoming friends. And I was like, are they kind of slowly but surely making like all of She-Hulk's strong women, girls that she fights, like they're gonna be her little girl fight club in her book? Because that would be kind of cute to me, and I'm here for
I think so. I think it seems like they're kind of shifting her or
it.
really establishing that she's not like a superhero in that
Hmm.
sense, like she's not out there doing all those superhero feats and all that kind of stuff. Like
She's
she
very
can talk people
grounded.
down. Yeah.
She's got her homegirls. Like they might fight on occasion, but like they're gonna hang out, which is cool. Um, and then even further back, I went into that one, and there was another little story about Ironheart and Wasp, Nadia. So I think
Mm.
if people like, and it was like 4 issues of them. They got roped into some mission with the Avengers, and it was like She-Hulk, Thor, Captain America. So it was like big names. They was doing it. I was like, oh, shout out to them for that.
Okay.
But check those out. And getting into the main books of the week, the first one is Dark Crisis number 7. We've come to the end of this big event that happened. That comes from Joshua Williamson and Daniel Sampere. And I won't lie, I tapped out of Dark Crisis very early on. I did come back and peruse this issue though.
Okay. This has
But
some
like,
other art too. It was also by because like some of the end pages were different than Daniel Samperi stuff. There was also Jack Herbert, Giuseppe Comicoli, Cam Smith, and Rafa Sandoval did some stuff in there too. I really like Rafa. He's one of my favorites.
okay.
Um, I tapped back into this because I wanted to see how it ended. I like read the first like 4 or 5 issues, and then I was like, I don't really know what's going on. I'm out. Which is wild because in the beginning I was really into it, and I will say that I see the vision. Like I understood where the event was kind of coming from with like the darkness and pariah, but I will say overall, I think that because there was so much like um high action and stuff like that, like it felt like having this come out monthly, it felt like, oh my gosh, will we get to the point?
Yeah.
Because um you're in the middle of a fight and then it would end and go to the next issue, or the big battle come at the end of the issue and it's like, all right, well, what's happening next? And we have to wait for another month, and then when it comes back out, you kind of have to like get yourself back into the mind's field of like we're in the middle of a war, like a
Mhm.
multiversal big thing that's going to end the universe. um so the pacing was a little wild to me for overall. Also, like um some of the ways that the not the villains per se, but like some of the situations that the Justice League in particular found themselves in and the way they got out of them were a little like too much where I had to like extend my like belief, because
Mhm.
the Justice League died, right? But they were actually
Mhm.
all like being in their own different worlds because the pariah was using that energy of them in their worlds, crisis energy, to like create a crisis to recreate the multiverse. Now, they were in their own worlds. They were broken free by the Flash and Hal Jordan. And they got to Superman, and he like basically was like, I knew this place like wasn't real. I studied it this whole time, and um, it's all like in my imagination. So if I just believe really hard, then I'll be out of it. And that's kind of what happened. He just like changed it. And after they ended up like fighting Pariah, and he leaves and goes back to the Earth Zero, they're like, we're stuck here. How are we going to get out of here? And Hal Jordan is like, oh, well, I followed the darkness through Necron's Black Lantern. What if we followed the light through my ring? And Barry, the Flash, was like, oh, and I can like use my Speed Force to like guide it. So they just like use the Speed Force.
But I hate the Flash. They like can let them do anything. That's a problem.
Yeah, it felt weird. Like they were just doing anything in this to move the plot along. And I'm all for some comic book, mumbo jumbo. Yeah, but like this was a little too much for me.
As it usually does, especially when the Flash is involved. I can even agree with that. Like there was parts of it when Dr. Light was coming out and she was doing some stuff after her little showing with the Flash. She's like, oh, you guys run through my light or like use my light to run. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? What's going on?
Yeah, it was a lot. And I love Dr. Light, but like I guess in one of the issues she absorbed like the light of the multiverse. And then the Flash characters wanted to use their like Speed Force to run a map through all of the multiverse and the infinite Earths, and Dr. Light is like, just follow my light and I can use that. And I'm like, this is a lot. Like,
and it was crazy because when she came back, so for those who didn't know, that happened in the Justice League is Dead Dark Army tie-in. That was Robin. The Red Canary made her first grand appearance. It was not what I was expecting for her.
She did not serve.
She did not serve, but nonetheless, that all happened with Dr. Light. So like her coming back from that part and talking to Mr. Terrific, and she's like, oh, I can use my light to finish this. And they're like, oh yeah, we've already got somebody racing towards the problem now. Like that don't make sense to you?
Yeah.
Ain't you supposed to be the third smartest man in the world? Think.
I don't know.
She can do it. Why are they running?
I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't get it. I didn't know where they needed to do it. But,
shout out to Dr. Light for getting an upgrade and a new costume because the new suit is hot. I'm into it. But especially like when the face mask part gets covered, they didn't really color it consistently throughout this issue. I saw some parts it was like white and blue. Some parts it was like kind of like all ivory white. But yeah, it was hot. I'm into it.
She needs a redesign. I need her to get it. Sorry. I didn't think the costume wasn't bad, but I would love her in an all-white suit. That's cool, but like, she needs a redesign.
I think it goes to
she got a lot going on. It's a lot going on.
I was gonna say the grandness of like what she can do now, what they're saying she can do, and her light being connected to the multiverse. I don't really understand it. I'm not smart that way. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it just seems like she's got.
Well, she originally got her powers from the Monitor during the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. He like shot this beam of light, which is interesting because the beam of light came from the Vega system where Starfire's from. He like shot this beam of light over from where she was from, and it like transformed her. Yes, people, if you go back and read that, she wasn't always the nicest lady. I like her. I like her spirit because she's a scientist and a doctor, but not a medical doctor. She's like a doctor in astronomy. And she wanted to still study the light, but people were like, it's coming towards us. And she was like, I don't care. I'm going to keep studying it. They left. It hit her, and then she got the powers and became Dr. Light. Yeah.
She should hook up with Mr. Terrific.
I like that. She needs an anchor to the DC universe, and I think that could work for her.
She could join it. They could bring the Terrifics back. I'm always trying to bring the Terrifics back. So
that would be hot. But anyway, in Dark Crisis 7, we see Nightwing has been completely taken over by the Dark now. It's everyone pretty much fighting. The Justice League is back. This is the big final battle. Nightwing has this fight inside of the darkness with Deathstroke, and they're having their tit for tat, about him being a bad father. Nightwing being like, you could have been a better person. On the outside, they realized that, or Black Adam realized that his lightning like affects the darkness somehow. I don't know what it is about his magic. So he just like screams Black Adam, and that like Shazammed everybody. So everybody became part Shazam, and everybody got like black and gold costumes, and then they fought the darkness. Um, the multiverse ends up being recreated. Now they're the Infinite Earths. Everything is back, and they beat the darkness. And yeah, now at the end of it, they have some wrap ups. We see everyone kind of where we expected them to be. You know, Batman's back in Gotham, Superman is back in Metropolis. Diana's back with the Amazons. Dr. Light is, getting her powers. The DC, I'm sorry, not DC, Justice League Infinite, the like multiverse watch team, they're back out there. Everyone is kind of like being reset. And this is supposed to be the thing that like ushers in this new wave of the DC universe where everyone is kind of being super heroic and going forward. But we'll see
I
what's
mean, they
coming
say
out of.
that once a year, I feel like.
They do. They do say this all the time. It's always, oh, there's no more darkness. We're gonna get back into being like good. But it looked like at that way, in anyway, from the Superman side, like that part at least looks like it's gonna be pretty positive. Action
Yeah,
comics,
they're
Superman,
hitting.
those looks like they're gonna be kind of
So having read
light.
this and like kind of like reread it back, you are enjoying Action Comics. Are you going to pick up Joshua Williamson's Superman?
I don't think so. I've learned that
Okay.
I don't know if I truly am that into um Williams' writing that much, but I do. He
Mhm.
always has really great artists.
Yeah, he
And
does.
I forget who's drawing Superman. Oh, Campbell
Yeah, Jamal
is doing.
Campbell.
Yeah, so and he's great. Like I'm a big fan of his. So
Mhm. Well,
I don't know. I can't keep getting
how,
suckered in with great art.
that is true because it'll only carry the story but for so long. But having read
Yeah.
that, what would you rate Dark Crisis number 7 as an individual issue, and then now that you've reread everything, what would you rate it as an event as a whole?
As an individual issue, I'd give it like a 3.5 out of 5. The art was kind of really carrying me here, but I did enjoy some of the action and the build up for some of the stuff. I just didn't really like the way a lot of some of it was resolved.
Yeah.
Um, there is a moment in here where Superman and John have this like team up punch against uh, Doomsday, which I thought was really cool. Um, John like really he held down the fort. Like he was there was a whole thing where he was fighting everybody. I will give it to him. Superman, he was a really he fought everybody. And when
Mhm.
it was time, he was like, I bought them time. I think I'm gonna die now. Doomsday's gonna hit me. His dad appeared and stopped it. I thought that was a really cool moment. Later, they end up like flying up to Black Adam and they zoom in on his face, and it's definitely The Rock's face. I'm sure people have seen that on Twitter. But I thought that was pretty wild considering that will not be the case going forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Poor man.
but I also did like the way that they kind of set things up later. There's an epilogue at the end where we see Amanda Waller talking to these like five lights on the screen. It's giving Young Justice the light,
Mhm.
and
The light
it
is
was very
coming.
much influenced by that. And as we see her Suicide Squad at the end, which has two peacemakers, like the main guy,
God,
there's a girl now.
this is James Gunn's DC.
This is James Gunn's DC. So I don't know. And overall, I would give the whole like run probably a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I think a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah. It could have been better.
Well, everybody, let us know what you thought about Dark Crisis as a whole. Next up is Strange number 9 that comes from Jed McKay and Marcelo Ferrerrira. And I'm really sad that this book is going to kind of end soon and turn back into a Stephen book. I've tried a couple of Doctor Strange series before, and I've never been able to stick with them. I don't know what Jed McKay is doing, or maybe it's just that I like Clea a lot. But I absolutely adore this title. And I don't even think it's just Clea because Steven's a big part of it now again, too. And so when it goes back to just him being the Sorcerer Supreme, I'm kind of gonna be like, but if Clea's still in there, I'm still gonna read. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
But nonetheless,
That's his wife though, right? Is she gonna be around? Well, he cheats, so never mind.
exactly. You know how a man are. But nonetheless, Clea has discovered that the Harvest Man is Stephen Strange. They're now working together to free him from the control of death and take down the blasphemy cartel. And so they go running into action. Clea and Strange are going straight there, and she's doing a lot of internal narration about how he's a doctor. His whole thing is about helping people and like saving the day. She's a warlord. She's about getting what she wants and beating people's ass and killing them. So like even as they're flying down into it, she's like, "You ready to do this?" And Steven's like, "Don't kill anybody." And she's like, "Excuse me?" And she says, "I can't make any promises." But the entire issue is just like so action packed. They are just like running through the blasphemy cartel's forces. They're using their magic. You have Clea's narration talking about how they're in sync and they're in love. We see some new aspects of Stephen being the Harvest Man working for death, like one of the demons stabs him through the chest and he doesn't die. He's like, "I'm already dead. So like I guess this is something that I don't have to worry about anymore." And they just kind of keep running through. It's like just looks so good. They're fighting together. This is magic. Like this is real magic. I think you'd be really into it, by the way. You might want to take it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And so like as they're running through, they finally kind of make it to the end of the cartel with like the big boss is, and he is like, "I'm ready for you guys." And he pulls out his secret weapon, which is a revenant demon monster of the century. And I feel like we were just talking about Century not too long ago. You were asking where he was. His dead body's right here.
Well, there we go. Okay. I think he died in the Null event. King in Black.
Oh, I did not read that.
Because I think Danny was like taking his
Oh my gosh, she was. Jane was in the Valkyrie miniseries.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I guess I thought he had just been dead.
So now we know he did, like his soul was taken, and this is just a spirit of it.
So like they're using the Revenant for his body, so it's like he's coming out. So the next issue is probably going to be Clea and Strange fighting the Century Revenant, which is sure to be good because I'm sure against all their magic, it's a big thing. But like Judd is just like really killing it on the side. Again, the narration like really sells it. The way that Clea talks, the way she discusses her and Strange's relationship, it makes you kind of really root for them. It makes you really feel the relationship, the love that they have, or that she has for him. He say he loved her, but again, wasn't he just sleeping with Carol a few months ago?
He was.
So, anyways, that was that. But issue was like spectacular. 4 out of 5. The art was great. Again, the battle sequences, and it was just like page after page. It was maybe a good like 10-page spread of them just going at it with people. And I was like, yeah, this is what I needed to see. So I highly recommend that book to anybody. Go check that out. And last book on the list this week is the X-Men Annual #1 that comes from Steve Foxe with art by Andrea DeVito. And this was the Mother Star story. Angelica Jolie. I'm a Firestar stan.
That's a stretch. I thought it was like cousin at most. Mother's a lot.
She's a mother. This is a potential mother. But no, like the issue was just really, really good. I, again, am a Firestar fan. I voted for her on the X-Men vote. I was supporting her. I've been very vocal about how I enjoy the year 2 team. And I think this issue was just a really good showing for everybody involved. We have the team kind of together. They are first, Firestar's getting attacked at the Green Lagoon. The Hellions are being mean to her, talking about, you shouldn't be here, blah, blah, blah. You was an Avenger. Everybody's mad. Who cares? Get over it. You didn't die with us. I'm sorry. Anyways, Iceman comes to her defense and takes her back to the treehouse where they run into the other X-Men, and they're just kind of talking about all the threats that they need to go over and face. And one of them is a hospital, and the Cyclops is like, we can kind of wait for that. Firestar interrupts, and she's like, no, I think if we as the X-Men are trying to show that Krakoa is like for the people and we're here. There's no better place to start than going to this hospital and like helping the humans with whatever they've got going on. So she and Cyclops go do that while the rest of the team get together and go like do all the other threats. Like there's one where they got to go to Mojo World because like he's got these zombie babies that are attacking. They have to go fight dinosaurs somewhere. They're fighting techno plants. It was like a really good showing. I think one of the things that we think about for these teams is that again, they are out here being superheroes. And I like that we showed them being proactive about that. But
Now, why we
while
don't see that in the main book?
because they're on specific missions in the main book.
Okay, don't try to lie because you like the second year two team. Okay.
And so then we cut back to Firestar and Cyclops at this hospital. We see her like kind of going through the motions of using her powers, her radiation. She's like, "Oh, I can detect different signatures, but I haven't like done it enough so I can really pinpoint it. I see too many people," and that's something that I really loved. I feel like between this and there was a comment she made early in one of the main book issues where she talks about her powers and how they're growing and being different, and I think it's just very symbolic of her and how she's viewing her mutancy now and how she was versus when she was with the Avengers and the New Warriors, where she was really just being used as kind of like a weapon to fight. She came to make the big blast. She came to go. Even Emma, when she was trying to do it, it was like, girl, you're going to learn how to kill people. Now that she's with these other mutants and she's with this team, they're teaching her how to do it differently, how to make good things, how to use it for good, which I think is a really nice thing to see with her. And her and Cyclops are kind of bonding over that and how their powers have affected them. Her, of course, having cancer, him never being able to take his visor off, which was a nice little moment for them. We see that Whirlwind has been the villain of the story. He's the one who's been like kind of stealing the Krakoan drugs from this hospital and trying to sell them on the black market. So they get into a big
Whirlwind. I
fight.
like Whirlwind.
Yeah, and it was a nice
It's a
callback
fun
to when
villain.
they fought when she was on the New Warriors. And she even says that. She's
Yeah.
like, I beat you up when I was a teenager. What you gonna do now? And so they have a big moment. She uses power, she knocks him out. He tries to do some final move where he like blows everybody up, but she gets to it just in time where she's able to kind of just stop it before the rest of the team gets here because Cyclops calls Jean and he's like, "Oh, you got to bring whoever." She's like, "They're not going to get here in time," but she uses her powers in a way that she stops the bomb. She saves the day, which was really cute. Jean was trying to flex throughout the issue. There was one part where they were in Mojo World and she's talking to Scott because she's been talking to Scott the whole time. She's like, "Oh, I don't know if you can hear me from all the way here in Mojo World," and it's like, girl, obviously.
That telepathy.
She love a little subtle flex, but I was like, I like it for her as well. And then they get there, and then when they go back to Krakoa, Firestar goes up to the Hellions, and she's like, you know what? I wasn't here. I was doing whatever I was doing because that's what I needed to do. But I'm here now. I'm here to prove it to you. I'm an X-Man, and everybody's happy, and they cheer her on. So it's like kind of what she's been saying the entire time.
Yeah.
But
Reiterated again.
just said one more time for the masses. But nonetheless, like it was a really good issue. I really liked that. I really liked seeing the team kind of like bond and do other things. They were funny. So the jokes were actually kind of like landing for me. DeVito's art really made Firestar look good. You know, she's got a short haircut now because Jean's also on the team. You can't have two long hair redheads. But with short hair in comics, it can be a little sketchy. DeVito does this style justice. She's got like a little swoop, the bangs folded under.
She's
It's
got an
got
asymmetrical cut, right? Yeah, right.
asymmetrical. It's hot. It's
Hmm.
working. It was like, okay, that's what I like to see. So she looked good. Really enjoyed this issue. Definitely another 4 out of 5 for me. Highly recommend it. I think if you've never read a Firestar story before, I think it's going to be something really enjoyable. I think if you are a Firestar fan, it's really nice because again, it has a lot of callbacks to things that she's done. How she was an Avenger, Marvel's Divas, New Warrior, Avenger. She's been around. She's got it, that girl. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Do you like her permanently over here with the X-Men? Do you think this is where she should kind of stay?
I like it because it's different. I feel like when she joined the Avengers, she made it known that like it wasn't really for her. And like she
Yes.
didn't enjoy the way they operate. I think she's grown out of the New Warriors. I think this like stretch of her as an X-Man feels right. It feels like what it is right now. Does she need to do it forever? I don't necessarily know just yet. But for right now, it's the best place to be.
Mhm.
Especially now just having been watching Wolverine and the X-Men, and she was in some of the episodes.
Okay, well, yeah, speaking of which, let's go ahead and switch over to the AR Club for the week and get started on talking about these three episodes that we watched of Wolverine and the X-Men. We watched episodes 20, 21, and 22. Now, 20 was a episode that was called Breakdown, and during a battle with Juggernaut, Cyclops is like distracted with these visions of Jean, and
Coming out of hell. Did you see the one where it was like the black smoke and the fire? I was like, look at Gene at hell. It was like the devil. That's all it was.
and then he passes out and wakes up and kisses Emma because he thought she was Jean.
It like says it, Gene. It was like, wow. This was
Wow.
like crazy.
She always gonna be second place. What a loser.
Now you know how they get when they talk about their white queen child. Calm down. You're meant
I know.
to be on
Start
fire.
calling her the white loser is what she really is. So Emma tells Scott that she is like, you having a hard time with Jean, I can like erase all the memories from your mind. And he says,
So crazy.
okay.
He was like, yeah. I was like, what?
He says, sure. So they go ahead and try to do that, but Emma is like going through all of his memories, and we see a bunch of the stuff that I don't think we've ever really seen a lot of, like the '05 as they've been young like this, in animation and stuff like that before. Obviously in X-Men Evolution we did, but it was because everybody was young. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, in a way where they are really showing you that this was like they
The first
started.
team.
Yeah.
They were there. And honestly, I actually really enjoyed it. And you know, I'm usually anti O5. I think we get a lot of content with them that doesn't really work too much anymore. But here, I feel like watching them train and kind of grow, and even the way they played on it, going to get Jean. Jean and her little headband was cute. I was like, this is one
Hmm.
of the first designs that I've actually really liked. And watching them, even when they get to later in the episode and they're fighting Magneto and they're like fighting together, I was like, oh, this is working for me. This is what the X-Men feels like. This is kind of what I feel like I had been missing from the last 19 episodes of the show. I was like, this team is doing it, and like, why is this kept? It's because there was more Xavier in it. The episodes that have a lot of Xavier are kind of the hit.
I'd argue the episodes that go into the future are the ones that are in the hits,
And who's in the
because
future? Oh.
Bishop. But yeah, I like this episode. I thought it was also cool that they showed like snowy Iceman. I thought that was really cool. But then the next episode, we jump actually into the future. And because at the end of episode 20, it's learned that Jean had transformed into the Phoenix, and that is actually what caused the explosion at the house that we've seen at the beginning of this season. Um, and Cyclops and Wolverine inform Professor X of Emma finding out that it was Jean that did it. Whole time, well, never mind. This is a spoiler. We'll get there in the next few episodes. um, a, Xavier had known that there was going to be some explosion that happened at Genosha, so he thinks that Jean is the one that's responsible for it. So he tells the team and the X-Men that like they should go to Genosha, and while his future team tries to uncover information of Master Mold. Um, the only way the only way to get into the building where the Master Mold was being held was like through this window, and they like learn of all this like kind of past history with Bishop, which I thought was kind of cool.
I
Um,
really enjoyed the little comment where he talked about how Wolverine raised him. I was like, oh, that's cute. I was like, this is the type of absurdity I can take from this cartoon. Again, like this is like I will say they've done some interesting relationships we've been here. I've always gone on record to say I'm a fan of Kurt Wanda. Once they were like, oh, Wolverine raised Bishop and like taught him what it meant to be an X-Man and kind of like build his morals and stuff like that. I said that works, and it also builds the story of Bishop and how he was in the comics. He was a kid and he just wanted to be an X-Man. He looked at them as this big thing. He had the ideals, and it's like, oh, of course he would have that because he was taught directly by one.
yeah, I think that's really cool. I'm
They
okay
gave
with
him
it being Wolverine. That's dope.
because it makes
Um,
sense. He and that.
exactly. We know he old. um, but then they end up getting ran over by this Sentinel. So it's like Rover, and Marrow.
Ugly Marrow.
This
I
is
don't like
again,
her.
y'all know I don't like Marrow. She is one of my top 5 most disliked Marvel characters,
Oh God, I
and
didn't know
it's just
top
once again,
five.
oh yeah, she's like cemented. She's sitting right next to Emma. Uh, and this just really proves again why she's annoying.
She
She
was
ends up
not.
like developing this bond with Rover, and they like she refused to like give him up with, and I don't know. That just really shows that she's annoying.
She been seen multiple times because she was just not a good girl, and that's
Yeah,
just all it is.
I don't really see it for Miss Marrow, but I did like this episode. I thought the stuff with the Sentinels was really kind of cool, especially when they're like fighting them. I'm always go up for it anytime they go up with
Bishop was
fighting the
killing the
robots.
Sentinels too. They looked really good, and
He
like
was.
that's another thing that I appreciate about this cartoon is what it does do for Bishop. It kind of gives him the role that they should have gave to Cyclops, but
Hmm.
they and then they don't give him a gun. And so he is forced to use his powers. You see him blasting his energy. You see him doing it in different ways. You see him taking the shots and like giving back. And I was like, we don't get to see that a lot with him. And again, he's with Xavier, who's also again a big part of this episode. It just really reinforces to me that like him teaching and guiding these people, it's so essential to what the X-Men are and what they do. And he's
Hmm.
needed. What a man.
He's great. I like him as a martyr. So he can go away, but I like him when he's around. Um, I thought the way that they like animate a lot of his blast that Bishop does is really cool.
Alien
He had
Powers
the
looks good too.
Hellion Powers looks really great in this. I do not like that trench coat on Bishop, but I'm also not a fan of trench coats at all. Um, and this show itself has kind of made some interesting design choices to say the least. Um, and then okay, episode 22 was called Aces and Eights, and this episode is Gambit arrives on Genosha because he's been contracted by Senator Kelly to steal Magneto's helmet and to like start a war and cripple Genosha. Scarlet Witch figures out that that's pretty much what he wants to do, and she's like, Magneto, we need to stop him. Magneto's like, no, it's fine. He already confessed to us that he's a thief. I already know what he's going to do. Mind you, the whole time I'm pretty sure Magneto's like, I want him to
Mm-hmm.
cause this destruction so that I can retaliate and give a reason for me to retaliate.
That's
You know,
everything.
chestnut checkers. Um, whole time Gambit is like, I got to figure out my way up out of here. And of course, what does he do but flirt with my girl Polaris?
Yeah, she was
And
down bad this episode. It was not good. It was not looking good for her at all.
you know what? It's not out of character.
It was like Gambit threw her a couple corny lines, and she was like, "Oh yes, I'm about to run away with you." She had her literal bag packed.
She did. That's my girl. I get it.
Crazy. It's crazy.
She's listen. She said, "I don't care if we on the run."
It was insane.
She was going
Crazy.
on the run with her mare. So I get it, Lorna. A tall man with some corny lines and you ready to run away.
But
Um,
shout out to Wanda for being the big sister that she is. Cause
she
she was
was.
like, "Where you at?" She's like, "Girl, stop playing with me."
Yeah.
And I also thought that was
Lorna
kind
kind
of
of gagged her
cute.
though when she told her, "Oh, you trying to comfort me? You the one in love with the X-Men."
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
I was like, it was hot.
One thing
But
about I do appreciate about this is that they really do show that Lorna was on the side of like Magneto and that whole side of things, the House of M.
House of M girl.
I appreciate that. What were you saying? Something about Wanda?
Oh, I just like her and Lorna together.
Oh, I do like that together too. I like them all together. Um, I don't think they need to be blood related to be sisters. I like the fact that you could say that Magneto just adopted Wanda and Quicksilver for a little bit before they left and became Avengers. Like,
I kind of
that's
think in
fine.
any other media, those are always just gonna be his kids. Honestly,
They're just biologically his kids.
yeah. I don't think they're gonna do that. I think they'll to add the Romani like Magda, that'll still be in there for her. But I think for the most part, they'll always just be Magneto's kids.
Mm. That's cool. I like them all together.
Mm.
I like the fact that the sisterly bond that they show between them. But again, you know, Lorna was getting ready to leave with Gambit, and then he, of course, turned on her like most men do, and he showed his true colors. She got upset and completely destroyed his boat and brought the helmet back to her.
Well, shout out to
Um,
her. She did use her powers to get her daddy helmet back, and I did enjoy that.
yeah, she may be dumb, but she's not stupid. Like, you know. So Magneto, of course, takes this and goes after Senator Kelly. He like uses Blink to get there. Shout out to Blink for being around. I never realized that her like teleportation powers, whenever they open a portal, they like also affect the area. Like everything like bursts back.
Mm.
That's gotta be annoying when she enter a room. Like,
Like, whoa, girl, give
oh,
me a water.
relax.
Think about it. A lot of teleporters gotta have like some downside. Nightcrawler stinks. She knocking everything down.
Vanisher glows, so you always know where he is. Like,
No subtlety.
yeah.
We always getting caught.
Just no stealth.
It's like, oh.
That's where they got to get in and get out. But yeah, I thought that this episode was interesting. We show Magneto, like, you know, showing his machinations behind the scenes and how he's using this attack because he wants to attack Senator Kelly anyway. This does show me that Krakoa really was an interesting and new thing for them to do, because we've seen Magneto have his island of Genosha in this series. In the comics, we've seen this as well, but we've never really seen that both Xavier and Magneto kind of have the islands together. And I think that that's really
That's
interesting.
different.
What brings it to Krakoa, yeah.
This episode also had like a lot of really good cameos in it. Senyaka, Mellencamp, Scanner at the end, like you said, Blink. And I think that is something that has been consistently carrying the series, is those cameos, and that's always fun to see. So good for them. I
Yeah,
love
I
Scanner too,
honestly,
so that was hot.
I feel like that they did what I think a lot more comic books should do as far as cameos go, and that is just reuse the characters you have instead of trying to remake new ones. You know, if you're trying to just fill some cameos and stuff, just use a bunch of the characters that have already been created
Mm,
as the backgrounds or whatever, instead of just making new ones.
I agree.
Yeah,
Jesse
but
Bellum will find his day.
one day. I really want Shola. What did you think of these like 3 episodes so far? We're
Honestly,
coming up to the
these
last part of the season.
honestly, like these were probably my three favorite episodes of the entire show. Like I thought each one was really good in its own way and consistently told the story. Xavier was in a lot of them. Bishop was in a lot of them. The stories felt a little bit more linear. It felt like an ensemble cast more than it had
Mm.
been for a lot of the show previously. And I don't know. I'm excited. We finally at the end and we getting it right. But I'm excited to see how it
Did you notice that it's because these 3 episodes don't have Wolverine in them?
ends. He was in like a flashback.
A flashback, right? He's just not prominent in these. So,
I did
um,
like when they showed the triangle between him, Gene, and Scott though.
oh yeah, when
That
she
was cool.
blew a kiss to
Yeah,
him. She
she got
cheats too.
down. I was about to say because he got hurt easy. It was like, whoa, it's just like she was waiting.
Yeah, I've enjoyed these episodes a lot too. I really enjoy the future episodes the most. So any of those will always be kind of high up on my end for me. The show again, I like the animation. It's just some of the designs choices are just. I see what they were going for with Lorna's hair. You know, her signature half up, half down. It just was not
I did
drawn
not
at
like
all.
that. It's very strange.
Yeah, I see that. Like I said, I see what they were going for, but it just was not all the way there. But yeah, I liked it. Check us next week where we'll be watching the end of these. We'll be watching episodes 1, 2, and 3. I'm sorry, 24, 25, and 26, and that'll be finishing off the series. And then we'll be also be starting off our next run. We'll be watching Justice League Unlimited Do you want to do Justice League or Justice League Unlimited?
I don't know. They're both so good.
They're both being pulled from HBO Max, which is wild. So we figured we'd
Oh
do that
yeah,
next. Yeah. So
that's so depressing.
yeah,
DC, WB. When I catch you, it's over.
yeah. Let's go with Unlimited. It's got a bunch more. It's kind of in the same vein as this with the cameos, and we'll see like a lot of different new characters that we haven't really seen in a lot of animation. So let's start with that,
Okay.
y'all. We'll
Fun
watch the
time.
first 3 episodes of that. So watch those, and then we'll come back and chat about those. So send in any questions or comments you have. If you've been enjoying it, let us know. But let's take a break, and then we'll come right back.
Cool. All right, everyone, welcome back. Hello. It is the relaunch section, but for the relaunch, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. It is the end of the year, and therefore, we have to go through our end of the year list.
Yes, it's time, y'all, to give us our recap of the year of 2020. And we're going to go through and give our best of 2020. So let's kick it off with our favorite writer of the year. To no one's surprise, mine is Philip Kennedy Johnson, who has been writing Action Comics. Um, I just have to go ahead and give it up to him. He's definitely been my favorite for this year. Um, I think he was my favorite last year too. So
It's consistent.
it's whatever. When you got it, you got it. And again, I have to say, anybody that was able to really turn me around on Superman, and like I said, not just turn me around, but like I'm in the camp.
I
So
must say, you like rising the ranks. You're gonna be casting to the ship soon.
I'm in there. I'm with the super crew. Sorry. And I used to really not go for the Kryptonians, but I see it for them now. I really like them. I already liked Superboy, Connor Kent, that is. And I already really liked him. Now like I'm in there. So yeah, my favorite writer of the year has been Philip Kennedy Johnson for sure.
Okay, very nice, very nice. My writer list, I'm not gonna lie to you, I had a tie. I just couldn't choose between the two. So I had to give it to one, Jed McKay. He has been consistently writing multiple books that I find to be at the top of my list every month. And I just think it's some really great, solid character work that he does. He mixes in action very well. He mixes in humor. He's consistent. Everything is good. I love him. My second one is Miss G. Willow Wilson. I think that
Mm.
the way the Poison Ivy book just kind of came and punched through so much, and like her extensions show it, there's so much. Uh, it's just good. They're my writers.
She
I
turned the
could go
ship
on all
around.
day. She turned the ship around. There was a clip I saw of Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy in Batman Returns going around Twitter, and it made me realize this was really the last time that we had ever seen Poison Ivy on her own, like outside of Harley, being Harley's girlfriend. And I was like, so much of her media content now is just to be Harley's girlfriend. And shout out to Wilson, because that solo has completely turned the ship around. I mean, Harley's still around, don't get me wrong, but it's just a reminder
She ain't
that
going
Ivy
nowhere.
is her own person and can do her own things. And it was like, we love that.
Yes, that's awesome. All right, switching over to the artist, and my favorite artist for the year has been Daniel Sampere. I really enjoyed a lot of what he was doing in Dark Crisis, as well as he only did a few issues in the beginning of the Action Comics, but he also did a few covers, and I really like his art. I love the way
Yeah.
that the faces look. I love the proportions of everyone. They look very real, and yeah, I love the expression that everyone has is and the powers. They always look really cool too. Big fan of Daniel Sampere.
Shout out to him. He does really excellent work. I will always be grateful for him doing the Aquaman Future State book, because that means I got Jackson Sampere, and that was hot.
Yeah.
um, my artists, I went through a lot because I liked a lot of artists this year, but honestly, I had to give it up to Javier Garron, who's been working on
Mm,
Avengers. It's no secret I'm kind of an Avengers fanboy, and I've really been enjoying that book. And it's just like every single issue, he just crushes it down. He's been so consistent on the book. Like there have been very few shut-on artists for him, and he has just been really knocking it out of the park. It's always big, it's always bold, the action, it's emotive. I love it. He's killed it. He's number one. Go off.
Yes. Perfect. Okay, the colorist for 2022. My pick has been, I think it's Jesus Aburtov, is how you pronounce his name. He is the colorist who does a lot of RB Silva's stuff, as well as he was the colorist on Juan Cabal's Fantastic Four stuff that was on the end of the most recent run before the relaunch. And I just really like the way that his colors always feel super to be honest. They're like very super heroic. I like the brightness of it all. I like the way that the colors kind of blend and like ombre together. He did some really cool stuff with like the sunrise, with Captain America and Misty Knight when they were like meeting up together and stuff that I thought was really cool. So yeah, Jesus,
Okay.
he's my pick.
My pick for colorist of the year, who's just like knocking it out of the park, was David Curing, and he's working on Avengers with Javier Garrod. And the issue that like specifically made me get into this was I can't remember the specific number now, forgive me, but there was one where there was a Ghost Rider Ronin character, like a samurai guy, and he was blue. And there was this one scene of like him in the snow and just like how it looked. It felt like I was watching a movie, just like something very cinematic. And it just like stuck out to me. It's probably actually one of my favorite comic issues of the entire year. Highly recommend people go and read Aaron's Avengers. It's been good and it's ending soon. I'm so sad about that. But Curio has been such a delight. And he does good work. I remember, I think he did some of the stuff with. Actually, no, that's a lie. That was somebody else. I know who that was. Regardless, Curio's good, and he's killing it.
Okay. My cover artist for the year was Lucas Wernick. I thought he did a bunch of really cool stuff, some variants covers that I really liked. Absolutely love the cover he did for Photon #1. She looks fantastic, as well as the redesign he did for her. Um, yeah, so Lucas is for sure my pick for cover artist for 2022.
Right. So my cover artist might shock you a little bit, but it was Russell Dodderman.
Oh, King.
No, I just like what he did on X-Men Red. I think about a lot of the covers that have come out. I think there have been some really cool covers. There's some really good artists doing that, but his stuff has been like super, super, super dynamic. I think about just even again the one that's just a basic team shot that's coming out soon for issue 10, and it's got like Storm and Frenzy and Nova and all. And I was like, damn, this just looks good. Although, shout out to Jeff DeCall and what he's been doing on some of those Catwoman covers.
Oh yeah, his covers are hot. Yeah.
Selena be looking good on those. He was like right there. They were like neck and neck, but I just gave it to Donovan because they've just been going on a little bit longer. But they really good work from them.
Yeah, I've got a few Jeff DeCall. Here's some Magneto stuff that I had as backgrounds on my phone. He's really good.
He's amazing. I actually met him at a con here in DC once before. They do this thing called Awesome Con, and he was there, and I got like one of his prints of Salah.
Oh, cool. That's
Really
really cool. Okay, best new series for 2022, and that means it debuted this year. Now, I kind of had two here, I will admit. They were kind of tied. And one is Photon #1. Really enjoyed that. I am really excited to see Monica kind of really become her own solo superhero instead of riding in anybody's shadow or leading a team or something. And the other pick was X-Men Red. I really did like some of the stuff that was going on in there. And, you know, sometimes it was a little focus was a little not all of the way there, but so that's why it's a little up in the air which one of these two gets it, because Photon is only one issue, whereas X-Men Red now has had I think 9 or 10, and but yeah, those are two of my favorite new series that have debuted this year.
Okay. Well, my favorite new series of 2022. So originally I was thinking about going with X-Men Red. So I agree with you there, but that whole kind of shakiness, I started thinking about some of the Iraqi stuff that happened that I didn't really care for, and I realized that kind of like dragged it down a little bit for me. Their highs were really high, but the lows were like mid. And I had to really go back and think. And again, this was another tie for me. And the two series that were the best were the two that were my writers of the year, Strange and Poison Ivy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
for all of the things I said, I don't think I've hidden the fact that I love a character-driven story. I really like something that gets into the mind of our heroes or our villains and like just amplifies what their core is, why they're doing it, what they need to do. And I think these both have been really great examples of how to do that in a superhero comic medium. The art has been fantastic on both. And they're both women led, which is like shout out to them for truly carrying the lines of their respective companies because they're doing it and a lot of people aren't. And it's just like really dope books. I could not decide because I have loved them both, and especially just reading a Strange issue earlier this week and then Poison Ivy not too long ago. It was just like, yeah, I can't believe both of these are coming out at the same time. How lucky am
Swinging
I?
too, yeah. Shout out to you for winning with that because they are doing the damn thing over there. I've heard nothing but great things about both of those books. Okay, ongoing series. Now, again, no surprise to anyone, my best ongoing series of 2022 was Action Comics. Like, it gives me everything that I need as far as superheroics, as well as just the optimism and hope that I feel like Superman should be known for. You really feel it coming out of the page here, as well as just the other characters also getting some time to shine because this book is Action Comics, and not just Superman. Everyone who's pretty much in his like tent pole, in his corner, is getting a chance to shine here. So I like that. Um, all those characters. I wish Tala got to stay, but whatever. I
She
get the
might come back
story.
around. She's still my
Yeah.
theory that she's going to be their black cousin. So
Mm,
I
I'm
mean,
with it, obviously. I feel like that's what I am right now.
Like, the black cousin. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. That's a good pick. Action Comics is consistently good. My favorite ongoing series is actually X-Men. I year two is taking it for me, and like the way that the book is kind of turned around and just the things that they've tied in with and the way they've done their little moments. I was going back and reading some issues, Magic hazing Angelica, her and Iceman's friendship, Forge kind of being like sneaky on the team, Gina Scott being the parents and taking care of Sync and Magic, Sync being depressed over there, Havoc not really fitting in and trying to find his place, that tension and things like that. I've just really enjoyed watching this team grow and build. I don't know. Year two's been doing it for me, and like I really have loved this book. And when I thought about a lot of the series that have continued, there's been some great stuff. But the way I love to go back and read my comics, and the amount of times that I have gone back and read an X-Men issue, like after it comes out, even well, this annual doesn't isn't a good example. That was written by somebody else. But like the Darby Web annual, I'll even say that when like that was the issue that I like went back and read multiple times, and I was just like, yeah, Dugan's really get me with this one. So we'll see how it goes for year three. I don't know if it's like just the people on the team or
I
if this
think
will
it might.
continue on. Because I don't know. Year three will come around and we might switch it up and it might be completely different. And honestly, I've kind of even warmed up to Sync and Laura.
Oh, okay.
I think they work for each other. They're both kind of bland. So it's like, yeah, it clicks.
That's true.
But
Sometimes
then
two board work.
And then I even went back and read the Hickman issue where they like all started and they were like trapped in the vault and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I get it. They like truly did fall in love. And it's true love. And he has been waiting this entire time.
That's his girl.
That's his girl. So shout out to them. It's working.
Okay, next up we have the best mini for 2022, and my pick this year was Star Wars Obi-Wan. I really enjoyed the mini. It started off a bit shaky because I thought, oh, are we just gonna be like jumping through his eras and stuff? But then as I read more of it, I was fine with that. Like I did like that. I thought it was gonna be more of just his book, kind of just jumping into wherever he was in his life and us seeing more of him post Vader and everything, kind of like post episode 3, kind of doing more tie-in with the show. But this actually did like jump through different eras in his life, and I liked it. It was pretty good. It was basically him like writing a memoir while we remembered, and we got to see all the things that he remembered. I liked it.
Okay, well, shout out to that. My mini series of the year was sort of Azrael. Dan Waters, I don't know nothing about Azrael. I think I said that like when I first talked about this. I don't know nothing about Azrael. I ain't never read nothing. Well, I know he like pops up in Batman books.
Hmm.
It's not a thing. But I've been blown away by every single issue of that book. The writing is fantastic. The art is spectacular. I'm really drawn in. Like I think if that something else comes out, I'm gonna read it.
Did you ever play any of the Arkham games?
I tried on one of them. I think it was the which one had Ray Hood in it? Or which one did you drive the
The
car
last
in?
one.
Did you drive the
Oh,
car in all of them?
that was the last one. Arkham
Arkham Knight.
Knight? Yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
So I did that one, and I got to like one mission while I was driving the car, and it was so difficult, and so I never played it again.
That's fair. They forced that car on you a lot in that game. I really like that one.
I
But
was,
Azrael was in the second one. He was in the first or the second one. We got to like fight against him and stuff. He was in it.
I ain't played them.
Never
I
mind. I
just
thought
played
you
the one
played
with the really
it.
hard. I've just played the one with the really hard car, and I was like, if this is what the rest of these games were given, I was like, I'm definitely never gonna
No.
play this.
That is totally fair. All right. The one shot of the year. What was your best?
Oh, hands down, Blade Vampire Nation.
Oh, okay.
Or was it like that? Like as soon as I read it, and there were a lot of good one shots out this year. Let me say that I was like kind of
Yeah.
going through some of my list of comics that I had. There were some really fun things like Moon Girl and X Men had one. There was that Miss Marvel and Moon Knight one, which was like almost like got the spot. I even like the JSA stuff they tried to do for the movie characters because they had Black Cyclone and Black Hawkman, and I was like, that's hot. But Blade, that issue, that was everything I wanted from a Blade comic, from just a comic period, like the politics, the action, the mood, the tone, the setting, the story, like everything. Yes, it is it cleared. I know what to say.
Okay. I like that. My one shot is Dark Crisis World Without a Justice League Green Lantern. And this
Mm,
was a hands down one of my favorite one shots of the year. It really got to see more of like inside of John's head because this is his world
mhm.
during Dark Crisis where he was trapped in his world that Pariah made for him. And of course, he was a superhero and he was the Emerald Knight. And just the way that he spoke with the other lanterns, especially Kyle, I think they have a really cool, interesting relationship together because Kyle was his successor,
Mm.
and they have like a fun dynamic, I think, together. Um, and just it was cool to see John like really get to be the Emerald Knight, um,
Would you
and be the
rather see
hero.
more stories of him with Kyle than you would with him and Hal?
Oh, absolutely. I never need to see him and Kyle together. No, they don't even really like each other like that. Like, if I don't know if you noticed, but in the beginning of Dark Crisis, when you may have tapped out by then, but when they went to John's world, and Hal was the one who went to the world and showed up there. Hal was registered as like Parallax. So when, when he showed up in John's world, the other Lancers were like, "You Parallax are not allowed to be here," and Hal was like, "Don't call me that." So of course, in John's world,
Hal's a
I
bad guy.
I think they were trying to show you that he's still kind of a bad guy. I mean,
I'm with it.
they cool because they work together, whatever. But I don't really need them together. I like him and Kyle together a lot more.
Okay, that's fair.
So yeah, that was definitely my one shot. Next up we had the event of 2020. Now both sides of the big two had a lot of events this year. Go ahead and tell you, I did not have a best one. Sorry.
You know that is
I'm
crazy
sorry.
because I did
Judgment
not
Day
either.
didn't serve. Oh. What happened? What happened to the
I
events this?
I don't know because last year we were swimming. You remember Hills Reborn?
Yes, I remember you talking about it.
Okay, that
Yes.
that was the event of the year. Okay, it didn't get any
Mm,
better than that. This year, I just didn't really feel it. I do feel as though Judgment Day was probably the most successful event of the year in terms of like scope and writing and effectively like telling the story, but it just personally wasn't something that I enjoyed that much. Um,
mm,
Dark
same
Crisis,
here.
she wasn't hitting. I'm sorry. I think I stopped reading by like issue two. I was like, I can already tell this is what I want to be. So that was that, and then everything else just kind of like fizzled out. And the mini events that a lot of stuff had. What do we start with Dark Web right now, which is like kind of fun for tie-ins, but even so, it's still a thing that I don't think needs to be anything big.
Yeah, Dark Web looked kind of fun or whatever, but I don't know. The events haven't really been hidden, and it seems as though the events are the only time the characters actually really do anything. So I
And
hope the
again, I
next
think that
time in
I think
2023 we get some.
2023 is looking up. We got Captain America Cold War. That's the same event. I'm just
Oh
saying.
yeah,
The symbiotes are also doing something. I don't care.
they
And
always doing something.
always, like Venom is so popular.
Venom sells, so he's always going to do something.
Craziness. And then Fall of X is also coming in the summer.
Mm, I don't know how I feel about that one yet. It looked like it's going to have a lot of Iron Man in it. He's coming to
Oh
save the day.
gosh, I saw that article. I was like, are you kidding me?
He's
I
coming to
just
save the
got
day.
passage free and now he's coming over here. Now he's coming into my house.
Yeah, with Emma.
She brought him.
So I don't know about that one, y'all. We'll have to see. Okay, the character of 2022, I'm sorry, 2022, that I picked that was created this year that I really enjoyed was Binary. Um, there weren't actually very many new characters for me to pick from that I was enjoying. Not too many new characters really created. Some random, civilizations were brought back, or like some random background characters were created, but no one really like popped this year for
You
me.
don't like
But I
Escapade?
did have to, what you say it again?
You don't like Escapade?
No, I don't. Her powers are weird. I could do without that. um, Binary was cool. Um, again, but she doesn't really do too much. She doesn't really have that much of a personality because she is so new. And I really do think that she's going to like sacrifice herself soon in this Captain Marvel thing to
You
like
do keep saying that. It's like
I know.
yeah, it's been something very consistent with what you've been saying. Like you expect her to die and like go away forever.
But yeah, I have to give it over to her. Her costume is hot,
Okay.
so
Okay. My top character created this year is Weaponless Zed from Legion of X, from Simon Spurrier and that crew. I think the stuff that I've read of Legion of X, it can be a little bit touch and go sometimes, but Zen has been a character that like has been super cool. I enjoyed the abilities that she's talked about and how her power is different from a lot of Iraqi she fights. I've enjoyed her appearances over in X-Men Red. That's been great. Her stuff with Nightcrawler is cool. I'm into her. I like the design a lot. Some of the Iraqi got it. Not all of them, but some of them do. And I think she's one.
okay. Cool, cool. All right. And the last topic we had for this year was the rising star. Who do we see from 2022 that's going to who surprise us this year and is going to really rise next year? And this was not too hard for me because there are two characters that I ended up having kind of a tie for. And that was Photon and Dr. Light. Yes, I love a light power, it assumes. I mean, it seems
Yes,
so.
you do.
I guess that's something that I've learned about myself. I love a light power, but Dr. Light was doing some really cool stuff in Dark Crisis, and I think that she's kind of gotten a lane for herself. I've always kind of enjoyed the character, and I hope that she really gets a push. And then Photon, I think, is not. It wasn't too much a surprise for me because I was already a fan of hers, but it does seem as though she's finally getting a chance to kind of shine on her own, and I hope that it kind of continues for her in 2023. It's currently just a 5-issue miniseries with her solo, but I'm hoping she gets extended.
I know. Show with your coins, girl. Let's get her
Yeah.
going. But that was a good list. Those fit for you. My rising star is actually the new Iron Fist, Lynn.
Oh, okay.
I was going through my books again to like create my list, and I came across the miniseries he had earlier this year and the Judgment Day one-shot tie-in that he had, and both were really, really good. And I think once Iron Fist came out on Netflix and that whole Asian Iron Fist movement started, and the way they've kind of transitioned him into this role, I think it's been really well done, and I think it's something that wants to continue and that they're going to really stick with. I think it works for him. I think Danny needed to kind of be moved out of that role, and I think the design is actually really hot for him. The two books that he did have were good. They were
That
also
costume
going
is
to
hot.
the costume's super hot. The like bandana and the way they tied him in with the other heroes like Shang-Chi and White Fox and kind of made them like the trinity of the Asian heroes in the Marvel universe. I see it. I think he's going to go a lot of
Mm.
places. I hope they try and do something next with him. I would love for him to actually bring back that Power Man character and like let them be the new Power Man and Iron Fist and see how that works out for them and just get some new stuff in there. Cool guy. I see lots of potential. I think he's going to go places. He's got it.
Okay, shout out to the new Iron Fist. Did you ever get that sword removed from his hands, or is that just part of the powers now?
It's just, it's the
It's
thing.
comics. Okay.
Well, they'll eventually like make it something else, so he don't gotta have a few pieces of sword stuck in his knuckles.
Yeah, we'll figure something else out. All right, y'all. Well, that was our list of the best of 2022. Definitely let us know what you guys think. Who are your favorites? What did you guys
Mhm.
enjoy this year? I'm super excited for next year. It seems as though, it seemed like this year I'll let a lot of books kind of fall off my pull list because things were clicking down. But
Yeah.
next year, it seems like a lot of my favorite characters and some ones that I'm actually just kind of interested in are going to be coming back around. Ghostlight is going to be coming back. I mean, not coming back, debuting in Silver Surfer. I'm super excited for that. Um, Ghostlight is the new character that they're creating out of like the cosmic energy from the Silver Surfer.
Oh, I'm out.
Don't worry about it. I'm in.
It's fine. You don't even have to say anymore.
I'm there. Rogue and Gambit have many coming, so there's some really cool things around the corner. But that brings us to the end of the show. Please make sure you guys rate and subscribe us wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Another Relaunch. You can email us anything you would like to at anotherrelaunch@gmail.com. You can watch us on YouTube at Another Relaunch TV. You can find me on most social media platforms at Uncanny LZ. Keenan, where can I find you?
You
Ooh, I
guys
know
know
where
you
I
can
where can they find you?
you can find me at Keenan Lance on Instagram and Twitter. As always, there's Instagram at the end.
All right, y'all. Let's get up out of here, and then we'll catch you next week.
Peace.
Peace.